So, some real quick scientific physics information so you understand the perspective I'm coming from. When you take an antibiotic or a probiotic, when you take two different entities and you bring them together, and that's called conception. Now, there's literal conception with sexual reproduction, and then there's mixing microbes together that causes then another offspring of a cell that then turns into an eventual virus that becomes influential and can destroy people if they don't know how to support it. Well, that develops offspring that could either work for you or against you. And it all depends on how you have trained that offspring and how the system has programmed that offspring. And so when you have a line of so many different parents that are trained by the same system in the holistic, in the allopathic, in the surgical system, eventually, after so many times of sexual reproduction, the newest offspring becomes so deadly because it's so deficient and so defensive that it becomes offensive. What would have been a victim of the system then turns into a perpetrator in the system. And that's why you're seeing now kids not surviving their environment. That's why you're seeing kids destroying other people. That's why you're seeing adults turn into the very thing that they are against. They turn predatory, they turn destructive, and then it's all out family annihilation through reactions, through such aggressive defensive postures that they actually offend themselves and sometimes offend other people, and sometimes that offense is deadly when given the opportunity. And so that's what happens when you sexually reproduce continuously with no change in what you are reproducing and why. And so then there is an excessive entropy process that then the organism has very little resources to survive, and then they turn deadly. Okay, so Generation Z is kind of like that right now. Generation Z are in their 20s, from 11 to 25, and they think they've invented activism. They think they invented sliced bread. They think they basically reinvented the wheel. All right, so the zombie apocalypse are your grandchildren and children because you decided to keep copying your predecessors. And so your children are only going to be copying you and destroy themselves and you simultaneously if you allow them to, which is why the outcome will be predictable. You can't stop immigration, you can't stop climate change, and you lost control of your children. Your children have been weaponized against you, and you have been weaponized against your own children. Generation Z is World War III. That is Generation Z. World War Z, that was one that Brad Pitt was in, that movie that took place in Jerusalem, Israel, that was about the zombie apocalypse, the experimental fallout generation. And so what I was watching the last couple of days around the whole anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian and defending Gaza, and I'm like, oh, that's right. That's right. They are trying to repeat the 1960s. Just like me going back into looking at the book, I forget, but it was the Communist Manifesto of the Weather Underground in the 1960s. That's okay. I have it in my backpack somewhere. And I went back to look at what they used as a way to infiltrate all the different agencies to get into the hearts and minds of people. And so that's how the Weather Underground back in the 1960s infiltrated, was through the college system, was through the government agencies, through the politics. Well, that's what's going on now. We have people who are now radicalizing the youth to go against not only their parents, but also the system, and then make themselves defend themselves so much they actually destroy themselves and they destroy their own family in defense. Because no one's doing anything to you, but the system is changing the climate, which is causing then what you think is an attack on your immune system. And then the defensive postures are so deadly that people actually annihilate themselves and their own family. And so Generation Z is World War III. It is World War Z, the experimental fallout generation. They're just copying their parents on steroids, literally. They are copying their grandparents. Yeah, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s are back through weaponized generation of youth who think they invented activism, who think they invented religion, who think they invented politics, who think they invented cannabis. I'm not saying the system hasn't been doing their experiments on a population. The fact that they deny it means there's something to it, and they're doing experiments somewhere. So the thing with all the claims, okay, around the public health therapies, around every single pharmaceutical, even the holistic stuff, the system has been doing so many different experiments ever since way before even the 1930s, okay? And Generation Z, which is between 11 and 25, are now the children of their parents who've been experimented on, and grandchildren of their grandparents who've been experimented on. There was a quote somewhere that said that give me a generation, I can redirect or destroy society. So the system knows how to get into the hearts and minds of generations of people. And it's through the TV, yes, it's through MTV, it's through the radio, it's through books, it's through movies, even through their own parents. And so, the last 12 years, there have been different whistleblowers, okay, that have come out. And maybe they woke up, maybe they didn't. Maybe they already knew what was going on and they decided to make money on the other side of the argument. They played one side, okay, I see where the new money is going to come into. It's going to come into opposing what they were doing and become the whistleblower. Okay, well, now, and I played the same game too. I played being against the V's, being against GMO, being against pharmaceuticals, being against all the different things, and then traded sides, and then played the other side of like, well, okay, here I have something to offer people and I made claims that, yeah, I got my hand slapped by the FCC because I became very popular. And so I learned that, yeah, no matter which side of the holistic allopathic world you stand on, you're still making the same claims, but the FDA has to approve the claims of taking away someone's pain and suffering and also relieving, stress and all that stuff. And so anyways, I'm not saying the system has been doing their experimentation on a population. So there has been claims that graphene has been used in the public health therapies as well as anything else. And while that might be true on some situations, how can you prove it? Because they have admitted they're doing experiments seeing how the immune system can take to something like graphene that is like a black goo that potentially could be people's issues. But again, we know that we breathe in nanoparticles all the time. You can't get away from your environment, but you have an immune system to release it. And that's what we're in the process of doing, is activating and conditioning our immune system to release the demons. That's the whole J world. Not so much the J juice, but the J world. So even though you might be right, what's in the public health therapies or what's in the air, food, and water and anything else, if you have an actual strong working immune system, it doesn't matter what the system does, nanotech-wise, if you have an immune system to release those demons. Okay? And so then you could be right, but it doesn't even matter if you're right or wrong. Can your body survive immune system activation and release and food and air and water? So I'm not saying the system hasn't been doing their experiments on a population. The fact they have to deny it means there's something to it, and they're doing experiments somewhere. You literally have to prove that there is, but here's the information. You literally have to have the proof, but here's the information. There might be a whistleblower out there who worked in the industry. Okay, and that's within the last 12 years. Whistleblowers coming out here and there saying this, this, and this, making their claims. And so at this point, anytime you're in biotechnology, okay, I don't care where you are, if you're even a secretary, you are doing experiments on people or complicit. If you choose to work in that profession, you are complicit. You literally have to choose which side of the world you stand on, knowingly experimenting on a population, or just defending yourself in the population. So what am I doing? I'm defending myself in the population. I'm not in biotech. I'm not selling anyone supplements or detoxes or recommending anything to anyone, whether I make money off it or not. I'm not trying to take away your pain and suffering. I'm not trying to cut out anything. I'm not trying to say, here, I'm going to take you to a doctor unless you profess it. I'm not recommending shit to no one, not even an over-the-counter prescription or not even an over-the-counter drug. Not even saying, oh, maybe you should take some aspirin. I don't even say that to my husband. I don't recommend him shit. He has to ask me to go call the doctor if I had to, or call the ambulance, or call 911. He has to be the one to go and buy himself Motrin or whatever the hell he wants to buy if he has a headache. I'm not doing anything like that. I have nothing like that in my cabinet that would then have me be the one to give somebody pain relief. Okay? And so either you're knowingly experimenting on a population, and that includes every single health guru out there. That includes every single supplement salesman. That includes every mommy and me group who's recommending detoxes and cleansers to people. Okay? They are knowingly experimenting on people because you cannot guarantee anything. Or just defending yourself and the population. And that's the whole J world. We're defending ourselves in a population that's under heavy, heavy experimentation. It might seem like it's nice to get an industry worker revealing trade secrets. Maybe that person woke up. If that's the case, and own up to your part in it. It wasn't like the system was doing right by everybody and then all of a sudden went nefarious. The system did what it did, and it does what it does. You decided to work for the system and make money from it. And that includes all the doctors and nurses and CNAs and dentists and every single person working in the industry. Now, as far as the first responders, you guys are lifesavers because you're there at the time of impact or right afterwards. And you have to stop bleeding or do some kind of resuscitation or CPR. But anyone else, no, you're not saving anyone's life. Okay? And so you're making money from it. And at some point, it wasn't lucrative to you anymore. All right? And so the system did what it does, did what it did. You decided to work for the system and make money from it. And at some point, it wasn't lucrative to you anymore. And so some people trade sides to make the same money, or if not more, on the other side of the argument. And those are the holistic people. That's why I have an issue with both the holistic and the medical surgical system. They're making money on all sides of your suffering and death and destruction. And it's still an experimentation because you can't guarantee the outcome. And you're definitely selling a purpose and making a claim. And that's why I've had a lot of hate from even the holistic people. Because I'm dipping into their capital. I'm taking away their arguments, taking away their platform that they have made so much money off of and felt vindicated and felt like they had a justification because they went up against Big Pharma. You are Big Pharma. The holistic people may not give people cancer like the industries in question are being accused of for doing, but they develop an environment for cancer to foster and proliferate and metastasize. And that includes all the diets and all the different detoxes and all the speed 'em up supplements to give you all the energy. No one can guarantee anything except for a surgeon who is paid to cut out your spleen if that's what you paid for. And to claim your protocols are guaranteed relief and cleansing and pain-free with no mention of side effects and deadly warnings might be far worse than the industry you compete with. And again, remember, when we were doing the whole J-World, J-Juice way back in 2018, 19, Lillian wrote down every single potential situation you could encounter because you are activating your immune system. And then we realized and discovered later on that we needed to feed all that immune system activation with all food. But luckily, the environment was not aggressive. There was no particle acceleration going on majorly. There was no major climate change. And so we can afford to play back and forth with the holistic world, the diets, and all the different detoxes, and still do jelly juice, and still survive. And the only person that died was a hospice person who was set to die anyways because the system deemed him untreatable. He was basically thrown away, and his family wasn't even around him at the time. And they used that as a weapon against whatever I was doing. Oh, it worked because you had some people just not even look at my information because they had to blame something on that person using me as a scapegoat. But that's how the system works. And I understand that because I've learned how to play by the rules. And I learned how to play by the rules. But that's how the system got me, was using him as a tool. And so, yeah, give me 1 second. A lot of tornadoes. So it's very biblical what's going on right now. And so Audrey was pulling out filaments out of her body, her nose. Her nose was pulling. I mean, I'm telling you, last night I was blowing my nose so much, like blowing my nose. And of course I pooped this morning, but that was about it. No hives. I was around people yesterday. I was outside. I had the sunglasses on, but I was outside because my husband was chainsawing wood because we cut down a few trees, and so we had to cut up the wood to then eventually split it with logs. But we had neighbors come over and say hi and hang out for a minute. A neighbor came over and helped him stack the wood in a nice pile. And so, I was around people and I was hanging out outside. And then this, last night around, I'd say between 2 and 3, I was blowing my nose. And it was on either side. It would get plugged up on the side. I'd turn over and let it unplug and then blow my nose. And then turn over this way and let it unplug and blow my nose. Okay, but no more hives. I haven't gotten hives at all. Not even when I wake up this morning. Okay, but right now Audrey is dealing with filaments coming out of her body, and her immune system is releasing them through her nose, and I'm sure other places. And so, she got a little ragey last night. I kind of thought she was aiming it towards me. I wouldn't blame her because I'm sure I've called her out on certain things around posting shit on Facebook. So if I've offended you, I'm sorry. But I don't blame people for raging about whatever, because those filaments and things in the body definitely do hold on to emotions. They take offense. There are things that represent certain things that people will trigger. And I know I trigger a lot of people. I cause rage, not only myself, but others, because I'm trying to get it all out. And in turn, that's going to trigger other people to either, take offense or be in defense. And you have to rage it out, because if you don't rage it out when you think about it, it's going to stay inside. And that's what is doing people in, is because they're trying to be socially acceptable and not rage and not say anything against the current and not feel the rage of pain and suffering and release. And so that's kind of the suffering in our population, is the fact that they're not allowed to release emotions, release demons, release anything. And so they're suffering with these demons inside and they have no way to release them. So the fact that I saw her rage a little bit was great. And then also stuff that comes out is a good, a good channel, a great catalyst. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was dealing with that sickness a couple years ago, when the climate changed in July of 2022, and it might have been when CERN was reactivated at that time, and I got so sick. And then once I was done with that sickness and I released that demon, I was so, not only in relief, but I was just raging in my head going like, fuck, that was insane. That was so crazy. I survived it, And so, just releasing so much emotion is, gosh, and you support it with all food. See, it's one thing to release and not support it, and then you're releasing yourself into the universe. But releasing all that rage and emotion and trauma and whatever else, and even demons, is great. Now you have to support it and rest and release. And then just remember what the hell you're doing, so that way you're prepared for the next release, because there's going to be another one. It's not over yet. Some people have a lot of freaking shit in their body, literally and figuratively. And so I said, this is what people are dealing with, and it is a lot. And you have to get mad, because if you don't, how are you going to get it out? I want you guys to get so fucking mad, because it's the rage that will push everything out. And then you feed that rage, you eat everything, and you rest. And so I said, hugs to Audrey. I've been raging on Facebook for the last 7 years. And you guys saw all the freaking tunnel goals the last 7 years. I would get so mad. I'd be calling people out. I'd be getting just so, even potentially even verbally abusive, and just pissing people off, because I'm raging at them, they're raging at me. It was like a whole war. And even though you might sound like a monster and upset at everyone, like I have, you have to fucking get it out. You literally have to get that shit out. If you don't, you are a ticking time bomb, and you will self-implode. And so the people who piss you off, they are the change agents. The people who pissed me off, they got me to move very quickly, and I saved myself. Just remember who's in your corner. So even though the trolls pissed me off and they got me to change and move very quickly and figuring shit out and doing whatever, but even though they're the change agents, they're not in my corner. If anything, they're against me, but they were the catalyst to get things moving. And even if you have to use people that way, fine, but don't let them destroy you. And so you learn how to use your environment, but don't let your environment destroy you. and know who's in your corner and know who's not in your corner. Don't keep around people who constantly antagonize you, because when you have so many people constantly antagonize you, then they aim to destroy you, and you'll let them. But you use them for a minute because they're using you. They're using you as a punching bag. You'll use them as a catalyst, and then you part ways. That's how you learn how to convert energy to your benefit, not against you. Okay? And so the holistic medical surgical system 50 years ago, and I posted about that because I'm in the diet suddenly groups and I'm watching people going like, I don't understand how now everything is so crazy and turned up and this and that. And 50 years ago, all the different therapies and all the different, surgeries and everything, they weren't good for you, but people are okay with the rate of death and the rate of destruction, the rate of diagnoses. Now people aren't really comfortable with the rate of death and diagnosis and surgeries and everything. So even though 50 years ago it wasn't really good, but it was acceptable, so I made it look like, well, it's all hearts and flowers and lambs jumping around with leprechauns and butterflies. But when you think about it now, the holistic medical surgical system now during climate change is just like, lambs with teeth and witches and warlocks and wizards, just causing just so much death and destruction. And then I have the whole HARP thing showing you climate change. And just so you know, correlation doesn't always mean causation, unless you can prove that what the system knew when they knew it. And so every ritual out there has a delayed reaction, just like the ecliptic apocalypse. So you can never make the connection unless you can prove correlation equals causation. That was the ecliptic apocalypse. And since things didn't happen right away, people dismissed people's warnings about everything. That's also the VACCINESs and all the remedies and the surgeries and the oncology and the diet regimes. Prove it that the system knew all the therapies would be deadly during this time, during climate change. You can't. That's how the system outsmarted all of us. So I just take care of myself because that's all you can do. The saviors will destroy the society and they will destroy themselves. The Walking Dead told you. Okay? The Walking Dead told you the saviors. Negan was representation of everyone out there who's trying to save somebody from something. What did Negan do when you were first introduced to Negan in The Walking Dead? He was taking bats and splitting people's heads open. All the people, the heroes in that story, all the good people trying to defend themselves, he was hurting them, enslaving them. Now look at all your people out there recommending you surgeries and therapies and detoxes. They're like a Negan, recommending you protocols to take away the parasites. The Walking Dead told you the saviors will be the one to destroy themselves and destroy society. Now look around you. And so then I told you VACCINES is 50 years ago and VACCINES is during climate change. And right now, with particle acceleration, and even in the show 6 Feet Under, and you're talking about one segment where this guy is a comic book artist and he's collecting something called Blue Twister or something, and Blue Twister is about a tornado that has been, I don't forget all the verbiage, but something to do with particle acceleration, where he then gets into a particle accelerator and becomes a blue twister, a tornado, and he does damage to people. That's the gist of what I got from it. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, particle acceleration. You can see now you listened last night to all the tornadoes that happened in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma got fucking beat down last night. I was watching some of those tornado chasers, and they're like, we're in biblical times. Absolutely. The eclipse was the mass ritual. Okay? And so bird flu could jump to humans any day, a former Surgeon General says. It feels like 2020 again. Yeah, influential algorithms manipulating microbes to hybridize animal and humans and invade. If you are starving and you can't release, and you're always treating disease with the latest holistic remedy, good luck. So I'm saying the people around you who are trying to save you from whatever, they're going to be the ones to destroy you. And so what's that guy's name? I forget. The one that was the cartels, the cocaine cartels. Back in the 80s, remedies developed weaponized offspring, weaponized youth, World War III. And so I said, drug dealers don't always look like cliches. Sometimes, drug dealers are your friends and family and strangers on the internet claiming feeling so beautiful and wonderful and energetic from all their drug supplements, tea leaves. Supplement salesmen are a kinder version of calling somebody a drug dealer. You're selling hormone manipulation. And so that's when I put in the whole MLM with all those supplements and things. And then, of course, the happy housewives are selling you everything, and the doctors and the nurses and your friends and family. What else did I say? Yeah, your friends and family. And so you're selling hormone manipulation, and then I develop a religion around it. All the gurus, right? Selling supplements and spiritual healing and beauty to boot. Love bombing the shit out of you. Going, oh, look, I can do this to make you look beautiful. Take away your wrinkles and give you collagen and do this for you and that for you, right? And they're not saving your life. Misery loves company. Oh, my hair. But they are employed to take you down as humanely as possible, under the influence, and as beautiful as possible. And they get paid very well for it. I'm not fooled. Even if you're fooling everyone around you, you're not fooling me. And so, yes, the Cranberries. Now, I found the group Bad Wolves who did the male version of Zombie. But yeah, the Cranberries from the 2000s or the 90s, right? By the Cranberries. Another head hangs lowly, child is slowly taken, and the violence caused such silence. Who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are crying. In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? Zombie, zombie. And another mother's breaking, heart is taking over. When the violence causes silence, we must be mistaken. It's the same old theme since 1916. Remember 1918? The pandemic? What is it? The flu pandemic? Since 1916, in your head, they're still fighting with their tanks and their bombs, like World War I, World War II, World War III. And their bombs and their guns in your head, they're dying in your head. Zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? Oh, I'm telling you, man. They're telling you this. And so then I had The Walking Dead. And again, I told you, correlation is no equals causation. That's how the system outsmarted all of us, because you couldn't make the connection. And so when you had that whole eclipse with everyone coming out and looking at the fucking sun and watching all that shit, and I figured out I better black out my windows, make sure I have enough food and water for at least 10 days. And I wasn't out there. I wasn't playing that game. And even though nothing happened apocalyptic, that was just a prerequisite to what's to come. And Ohio is the highest amount of tornadoes in 2024, but Oklahoma got rammed. So did Missouri, Kansas, Texas. And so if major American cities and universities must be destroyed because of what's going on in the Gaza, then I guess that's what was intended to happen. If the system must use people as a tool to destroy America, we did it to ourselves. We never stood a chance. You can only save yourself, because no matter what you vote into office, they can't stop what's already here. The system is a master of perception. I'm not going to say deception, it's perception. Because they're telling you, they're not deceiving you, they're fucking telling you, you're just in denial. But they're making you perceive that, oh, if you got Trump in office, he's going to save your life. Oh, God, no. And that's why I posted that whole World War Z, World War III with the music from Bad Wolves with Brad Pitt and then other things. And so then we have someone like Eugenia Cooney that was then replicated in AI curse group. And this is why America is falling, because we encourage this type of starving meth look. Child exploitation happens first in the family, and the predators pick up on that. That equals died suddenly. And someone posted in that group, man, those teen beauty standards are something else. And then I'm looking at my Facebook, and I see so many kids, in Ohio, everywhere, California, and I see so many girls following these beauty starvation standards. Adolescent adults who are forced to follow this trend so they can be accepted by their peers. They don't even know they have a choice in the matter, because this is all they know. And their mothers encourage it because their child is capital. Their child gives them entrance to pleasure and paradise and social capital. That child's exploitation. And this happens in the family first. And that's why you have so much human trafficking, because the parents traffic their children first. And the predators pick up on that. And that's why these kids go missing. That's why these kids are sacrificed to the system, because the parents allowed it. They wanted it to happen, even though indirectly they didn't want to. But yes, what were they doing? Why were they having their kid be displayed like that? Like in American Beauty. And she's a cheerleader, and then you have what's his name? Spader. Is it Kevin Spader? Is it Spader? Shit. Anyways, yeah, that's his name. Yeah. He's like this father that's just going gaga over a fucking cheerleader. And so the students and the youth get weaponized against everything. Ignorant adults also get weaponized against everything. Some adults are still adolescents and they encourage families on top of that. And most likely will stay that way. They've also been weaponized against society. There's the hope and change, which is why I only hang out with very few people, if that. Most people will not mature enough to save themselves, and so the immature are weaponized against themselves. And so the zombie apocalypse, everyone's being gaslit to predictably react with destruction to themselves, their community, and their whole way of life. That's the hope and change. Take care of your own backyard. You can't save anyone. Some people can barely even save themselves. What does being gaslit mean during climate change? 1. Temperatures rise and fall aggressively, causing immunological disturbances. People react with oncology and remedies, thus turning into died suddenly and diagnosable conditions. 2. Certain countries get attacked by another country and then protests because of political gaslighting. And that's what's going on in these universities. Democrats are attacked by Republicans. Republicans are attacked by Democrats. The system plays every opposing force off each other to get them to destroy each other. Your reactions are their power. And America is Luciferian. We were made to be the light of the world. That's what the Statue of Liberty was that we were going to liberate people from their life through the activism, through Generation Z. Or what was Yuval Noah Harari said? Liberate people from their suffering. That's who America is. We're liberating people from their suffering through our activism and our oncology and remedies and cannabis and everything else. The system plays every opposing force off each other to get them to destroy each other. Your reactions are their power. Your savior and Satan attitude has become the destruction of your family and your friends and your politics, religion, science. Your ignorance is their power. We have adolescent youths, we have adolescents, and we have a young generation who can't wait to go to war with everyone. That's the zombie apocalypse. So again, America is Luciferian. We are the light guiding the world, and we will liberate you from your suffering, even if it means died suddenly. Because you think it's just freeing someone from oppressive situations. Yeah, sometimes death is freeing someone from an oppressive situation. Sometimes going to hospice and getting all those remedies and treating yourself to death and surgeries will liberate you from your suffering. And yeah, that's the zombie apocalypse. And so World War III, World War Z, HARP, youth and adolescents used as tools. World War Z, Gen Z going off the deep end. They are the zombie apocalypse. Radicalized ignorant youth, radicalized adolescent adults. The system started the war so you can react and destroy American cities and yourself. Your emotional reactions are their power and your destruction. Hope you're happy reacting so predictably to being gaslit. So that's why they brought in the people from like the different borders, because they have no investment in being peaceful, because they've been oppressed in like Mexico, Guatemala, South America, other places. And so if they can let you go into the universities and get, radicalized there, and then you get radicalized other people, and so you go out there and protest and radicalize others, now all of a sudden you have basically a civil war. And so I just walk the fuck away, because they're going to destroy the cities, they're going to destroy the universities, the cities, they're going to cause. That's what they're there for. That's what Generation Z is. They are the apocalypse. They are the zombies. They are the hope and change. They will be the one changing the world. And it might be through destruction. And that's kind of what's going on. And so Gen Z, also known as the Gen Z, Gen Edge, the new greatest generation, right? The greatest generation is World War I and World War II. They're World War III. They are copying their grandparents. They're being used as tools. And the snowflake generation is said to be the generation that will change the world as we know it. They are known for their strong sense of social justice and promoting diversity. They use their voices and platforms to advocate for marginalized communities and push for change. And that's why they're bringing in all the different people over the borders. The greatest generation is a term for Americans born between 1901 and 1927. They're also known as the GI generation and the World War II generation, as well as World War I. Okay, as of 2023, Generation Z is known between 11 and 26, having been born between 1997 and 2012. Gen Z is often referred to as the first generation that is digitally native because they grew up with social media and smartphones, and that's how they got radicalized. That was the Arab Spring, that was the Arab Summer, that was so many different things. And then you have World War Z with Brad Pitt. Watch that. And so wise men profit more by fools than by fools by wise men. And so the wise men are capitalizing and radicalizing the students. There's even adults who are made to infiltrate and radicalize young people who don't fucking know any better. And that's fine, whatever. What are you going to do? And so that's why the National Guard is at these universities, because Jewish students fear for safety as anti-Semitic protests sweep the universities. And it was done purposely. What the fuck are you going to do? You can't do shit. You just got to watch it happen. You can't do a damn thing about it. But you can notice it. You can observe it. But you can't do anything about it. And so the Aztecs. Apocalyptic Aztec demolition took 5 years. Be warned. Frequency, energy, ULF triggers viral pandemics. Natural ULF, ultra low frequency, volcanoes, hurricanes, and tornadoes. Synthetic energy harnessing causing natural or synthetic situations. Okay? So you don't know if the chicken or the egg. You don't know if those volcanoes and hurricanes and all those things happened way back when that caused them the pandemic, or somebody catalyzed the volcanoes or something else to cause a pandemic and cause the destruction of the Aztecs. Between 500 and 1500 CE, hydropower increased across Asia and Europe. Okay, and this is around the same time that the Aztecs were taken away through pandemics. And so, smallpox virus that causes fever, vomiting, and rash decimated the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan in 1520, reducing its population by 40% in a single year. The epidemic gradually spread inward from the coast of Mexico and, combined with superior weaponry, enabled the Spanish to conquer the city in 1521 after a 93-day siege. Smallpox is fatal in approximately 1/3 of cases, and another third of those afflicted with the disease typically develop blindness. And so when you think of that, and then of course the Trail of Tears with the Cherokees and Andrew Jackson, yeah, I mean, that's how the system was able to control populations. But what are you going to do? And so hydroelectric power has been used ever since 500 and 1500 CE, and then you harness that hydroelectric power into then some kind of radiation type of situation. And so what are you going to do? I mean, hydrogen bombs have larger blast shockwaves, heat, and radiation than atomic bombs. So you can only imagine how the system controlled the giants, controlled rising and falling situations, civilizations. In just 5 years, 15 million Aztecs died. At the time, their symptoms included fever, headaches, dark urine, black tongue, and most notably bleeding from the eyes and nose and mouth. Oh, that sounds like Ebola, but not really, a high frequency. What could have possibly caused this? See, it's one thing to be around people. Okay, be around people, okay, you have to handle that energy of being around people and taking on microbes and process them and converting them to your benefit and releasing demons. But when you add aggressive energy to microbes that are very influential on bodies in deficit, that's the pandemic, and that's what causes all the different symptoms, like dark urine, tongue, and headaches, and bleeding. Basically, blood vessels popping, blood vessels breaking because of excessive growth from the nose, the eyes, and the mouth. People's organs are bursting inside. Next year, potentially, I don't know. What do they say? Texas electrical grid warned of a possible energy early next week, not next year, next week. Potential shortfall of power reserves. Who knows, but be warned. All these devastation, Elkhorn, Nebraska. And then, everything is apocalyptic. World War III, World War Z. The apocalypse. The eclipse is a mass ritual because look what's going on in the middle of America and in many colleges. Okay? Generation Z is going off the deep end in these colleges. Pretty apocalyptic when you have F5 tornadoes go through Nebraska and Iowa and Texas. Pretty devastating that these colleges are closing down because they can't trust their students to be mature enough to know they can't stop things that go on overseas, but they definitely can control themselves. They think they're back in the 1960s. This is not the Vietnam War. Yeah, I could say the eclipse was pretty apocalyptic and a mass ritual. So all of you rolling your eyes at me the last few weeks around the eclipse, apocalyptic isn't always what it looks like in the movies. It was like, I fucking told you so. Weather warfare, weaponizing the youth, exploiting children for political gain, weaponizing ignorance, because ignorance is fucking deadly. Ostriches sticking their head in the sand is deadly. Okay, so the whole solar eclipse between Oklahoma and Maine, and it was Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And you can only imagine what kind of hurricanes, as well as anything else, and tornadoes could happen to all these different places on the ocean. And New York and Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine are also on the ocean. All right. So many different scams out there. You guys can read about that. I'm not going to go there. All right, give me 1 second. I just want to cover the stuff. All right, so when people are saying, oh yeah, I'd rather see children get free school lunches than pay off grown folks' college degrees, here's the thing. People are exploiting children. The Republicans exploit children, so do the Democrats. Okay? You guys both exploit children. Student loans are to educate people so that way they could potentially pay for their kids' lunches and make a little bit of money. And also educate the population. It doesn't always happen. But I would rather have an educated adult who then can possibly pass that down to their child and also afford a school lunch. And if they can't afford it, then that's fine. The system can pay for both the student loans for the adults and pay for the school lunches for the children. Because obviously, paying one but not the other is going to make it hard for everyone. Because when kids have their school lunches, one school lunch, and their parents are starving, or their parents are doing stupid stuff, what's that one school lunch going to do for them? Absolutely fucking nothing. Okay, so all of your arguments are stupid. So I'm just going to read this real quick and then I'm going to go from there. Oh my God. If you're going to reward the poor, you might as well reward the educated. When did it become appropriate to use kids as a political tool for your issues with government? You become just another adult who uses a child as a tool. Adults who exploit children for political gain are turning into the very thing they say they are against. You might as well bring in Greta to promote your politics. So it's Republicans who have an issue with the school loans. Both the liberals and the conservatives exploit children for their own political gain. Both sides are two sides of the same coin. Right now, I can't tell the difference between the two-party system. Welcome to the New World Order. When Republicans become liberal and liberals become Republicans, I don't exploit children. Regardless if women have children or not, the mother's life is the most important. Because if the mother is weak, who's going to raise those children? If the mother can't afford food, who's going to buy food for her kids? If the mother is sick and dying, who's going to be there for her, the children? If the mother is ignorant, the children will have to be extraordinary to surpass the parents. And those are very rare situations. Your politics around lunches and student loans are asinine. Stop trying so hard, certain Republicans. You're turning into the Democrat. Why don't you become neither? But I guess if you're okay with the system raising your children, then you have just negated every single argument in the Republican Party. You just become a Democrat with your politics and arguments. Now you understand where we're coming from. Who's we? The system. The system will show the Republicans how much they need the community, how much they need government. Then the liberals can stop whining because Republicans join their party. You guys can finally work together and play nice in the sandbox and pay off all the student loans so everybody can buy lunch for their freaking children. Laugh out loud. Some people will just go on trips and buy big trucks and big cars and go on major vacations. It won't matter if the government pays for all the lunches or pays for all the student loans if the parents aren't even responsible with their money. So yeah, government's going to have to basically take care of everybody. So you just proved my point. If we have to pay off everyone's school lunches, we might as well pay off the student loans. Because many parents are paying student loans and free school lunches are not enough. What happens when the kid goes home and there's no food on the table and mom is putting all the money up her nose and daddy's off somewhere in the background? Have you even thought about that? Kids need more than just a free school lunch. I think that's pretty insulting to the children. Here's a free school lunch. Ooh, one free school lunch one day is not enough. Not in a society that has absolutely no value and respect for life or money. Improve your argument because they are crap once again. But at least parents went to school. At least they showed some kind of drive. Not all parents have gone to school or have student loans, but some do. They deserve a break on both sides. If you're going to reward the poor, you might as well reward the educated. All right? So, again, I just took out that argument from the Republicans. All right. And so, died suddenly. So many died suddenly. And the slavery system is when you force your body to do things against its will and ignore indicators of distress. And then you drug it to silence it, and then you disfigure it to punish it. And then you starve it because you don't want it to enjoy anything. That's how you treat your children, your animals, your family, and friends. Death from natural causes when the body finally strikes back and it destroys you. The body could not withstand any more abuse. Your body has been raped and pillaged by you and the people you surround yourself with for too long. It finally wants to rest in peace. It has been starved. It has been carved up. It has been disfigured. It has been stabbed. It has been tortured. It has been roofied. It has been drugged. It has been forced to produce hormones. It has endured so much abuse that it even has been forced to be drunk. It will finally give out on you. Your body can't walk away from you, so it will destroy you. And that's why I post about Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back. Nanotechnology is using plant-based therapies causing hormonal dopamine, serotonin responses. Nanotechnology are microbes with intentions to turn on and off your hormones at a person's discretion based upon their intentions to feel or not feel or look socially acceptable. There is a price to pay when you rape your body, mind, and spirit and force it to produce for you under duress and against its will. And torturing your body so you can look and act, feel socially acceptable will have an aggressive, deadly repercussions later. Your body does rebel against you. Some people don't survive their own body rebelling against itself. Just like when someone is hurting you and you're backed into a corner and you hit back. And you hit back so hard to get away from that situation. Sometimes your defenses are deadly, especially if you've been taking abuse from someone in your life and then finally you snap. Your body will snap and it will destroy you. Your body can't leave you, so it strikes back and sometimes it's deadly. People's defense systems have been weaponized against them because people keep hurting themselves, torturing their own body, and the body strikes back. The empire strikes back. And this goes for everyone in the surgical system, in the holistic system, in the food mitigation system. You have tortured your body for years. Your body's going to rebel against you. I hope you survive the rebellion. Okay. And can you embrace change? It doesn't matter what it is. Embracing chemtrails, vaccines, geoengineering is not resistance. Making changes to survive chemtrails, vaccines, geoengineering is survival. Making changes to your world so your black hair stays black, dye, or eating all food in your diet, not all silver, is not resistance. It is hope and change. So even if you dye your hair because you don't want to look like you're aging out, fine. You're just embracing the changes. Okay? And so only you know your intentions, and the outcome will be the proof over time. Oh, okay. I'm almost done. All right. Am I almost there? Okay. I'm almost done. Evolution to live means you must change almost everything you do and believe in. Evolution to die means you're not in resistance to anything, or you are in resistance to everything. You will let the environment take you out as humanely as possible. I evolved to live through lifestyle and belief system changes, and I also am not in resistance. I also characterize everything based upon my intentions and beliefs. If I believe life is sacred, I will change and characterize everything as another evolution to support and survive, not resist. If you believe life was disposable, it will be part. If I believed life was disposable, I would be part of the medical, holistic supplements, drug dealing world, and assume everyone is trying to kill me with food, air, and water. And then I would be drunk all the time and under the influence partying, always trying to look for pleasure and paradise. And I don't blame you. If you can't handle pain, I don't blame you if you have to be under the influence 24/7. But there is another way. Your way is not the only way. And of course, my way isn't the only way either. Oh, look, you get a choice. You are privileged enough to be given a choice. Some people in third world countries get no choice. Many children do not get the choice. Many adults don't get the choice. Some of you are lucky enough to choose. And if you're in my world, you're so fucking lucky. You get the choice. But remember, if you want to be 100% pain-free, that's called rest in peace. Relative equilibrium buys you time to figure out a game plan. But that won't last forever. And that was the whole J world before climate change. That was a respite to redirect. And then climate change came, and I had the conditioning to deal with the actual monsters in my body that came to surface around 2020 and beyond. Eventually, you're going to have to pay the piper for your lifestyle and beliefs. You're going to have to suffer to live and survive. Those are the choices presented to you. Or you can cure yourself to death and then eventually die suddenly. I had to suffer on and off the last 7 years, and some of it was very brutal. It's not over yet for some of you. The journey has just begun. And so we have an aggressive barometric rise in the barometric. We have an aggressive rise in the barometric pressure today, and it will be 71 degrees yesterday. Today it will be 81, all the way down from 30 degrees. That's climate change. That's also a case for it died suddenly in some people. If you can't keep up with the environment, these climate changes will destroy you. And I can feel every bit of climate change that's going on. Some are not even getting sick, but you are aging out. And that's dangerous if you can't feel a damn thing. And so God damn. All right. How you characterize a person, place, or thing is the difference between tolerance and intolerance, and evolution and regression. If you cannot provide two opposing, valid, and succinct arguments to characterize a person, place, or thing, you do not deserve even to promote one argument. Boom. You earn your right to believe your beliefs by honoring both sides and still have your own opinion. Now, I know you've been suffering, Audrey, and I get it. And so it might take some time for you to say, okay, there's a reason why I had to go through that pain and suffering. When you are in it, you'll be angry. Stevie J right now is angry. She hasn't figured out the upside to the pain and suffering she's going through or seeing. Audrey, it'll take you a minute to figure out how to characterize that pain and suffering where you understand there is an upside to it. Okay? And so that's what I'm trying to give you guys when you're ready. You may not be ready yet. I wasn't ready a couple of years ago. But when you are going through a major pain and suffering, you will be very angry, but then later on, you will be thankful that you went through it. And I hope you get there when you can see the upside to suffering, because it is a strength. And when you can survive suffering, you will get access to so much innovation and potentially even another awareness. But you have to be able to handle the suffering and eventually characterize it in a way that gives the other argument. So that way others have a chance to be like, okay, I could be angry about the pain and suffering and be angry at the filaments in the body, be angry at all the nanotechnology that's in your air, food, and water and wherever else. But it's also a strengthening of the human population. And one day you'll be thankful for it. But it's going to take time. Okay? And so so you don't have, what is it? If you cannot provide two opposing, valid, succinct arguments to characterize your person, place, or thing, you do not deserve even to promote one argument. Boom. You earn your right to believe your beliefs by honoring both sides and still have your own opinion. I can provide an argument for the holistic Holocaust. Okay? If you want to contribute to population control given to you by your government, by all means, go pop that pill, smoke that pot, go on that diet, and be pain-free forever. No one is stopping you. If anything, everyone will sell you their protocol of cures and drugs. See, I can play both sides of the fence just like my government, and I can still save myself. And I earn the right to have my damn opinion. Believe me, I understand why people get surgeries. They developed a major case for it, and they had no choice at the time. But after surgery, you have a choice. Continue to get more surgeries and find a way to endure the pain and release the demons and eat the food. But you can't sell that to someone. Most people cannot handle pain and suffering. So I understand the holistic Holocaust. I can provide an argument for it. People are too far gone, and they know what they can handle or cannot handle. And I can still have my opinion, my choices, my lifestyle. And I can still understand why people do what they do. But they could understand my point of view. That's the issue. Do you understand my world that I live in? Most don't even care to. And so they purposely mischaracterize. And that's not my problem. They have to live with their own choices. So again, when you're in this mode of suffering, one day in the future, you will be thankful for the suffering you endured. 2024. You will be thankful for it. I don't know how you're going to say it, but you will find an argument to be okay with it. Okay? And so groupthink is the premise of a disposable society. America was based on groupthink, and we are the representation of the world. Okay? It's in your politics, it's in every single religion and spiritual belief. It's in all the sciences and dogmatic scientists. I have observed so many people in the world I came from the last 10 years barely made any changes for the better, who can't even provide an argument that is opposite of their own. And this is what people have an issue with. And I get it, because you're not ready yet. Actually, they refuse to develop an opposing argument. They refuse to make waves even in their own circles. I don't mean confronting people. I mean actually making waves on your Facebook with a different way of articulating the world out there. You don't need to articulate, you don't need to confront people to make waves. You don't need to confront people to evolve. Just be yourself, that even question yourself, which in turn questions everyone around you. People can't do that, so they are relegated to groupthink. Okay? It is okay to outgrow the arguments presented to you 12 years ago. Survival is the ability to outgrow everyone around you, change your arguments, lifestyles, belief systems, and still survive. If you cannot outgrow your friends and family, I question your ability to survive. Most likely you'll become a drug addict. Actually, you will become a drug addict, trying to stay the same. Only you won't call yourself a drug addict. You will call yourself a spiritual healer. Lack of growth and change to evolve and survive is facing your personal pain and suffering and changing the way you do things and adapt to climate, economical, intellectual changes. And also characterize it that way. If you cannot adapt, you will sell a lifestyle and be addicted to drugs and alcohol and supplements, sex, family, friends, pets, pleasure, and paradise until the body finally gives out. That is your future if you cannot change to survive and adapt. Very predictable. And so the picture below, which shows people like in drum circles, is a representation of those who have the lack of the ability to change, so they have justified spirituality. And of course, misery likes company. Groupthink is the premise of a disposable society. So when you're in the middle of pain and suffering right now, eventually you will have to set yourself apart and characterize it as a positive thing. How do you characterize your own personal pain and suffering as a positive thing? That's the challenge I give to those who are suffering right now, who have been suffering, dealing with emotional releases. And what did Stevie J said? She said is mad as hell with her YouTube. And then one day, when you survive the pain and suffering, and you become stronger for it, you will not be mad anymore, and actually thank the system for putting you through a strengthening process. God damn it. And you will prove how strong and innovative you are surviving climate change. And you will thank the system. That's the other side of the pain and suffering, is thanking the system for making you stronger. And so even though CBJ says she's mad as hell, then I said, and then one day when you survive the pain and suffering, you become stronger for it, you will not be mad anymore and actually thank the system for putting you through a strengthening process, and you'll prove how strong and innovative you are surviving climate change. And you will then thank the system. And you will recharacterize. And you won't be mad anymore. There'll be no more anger. You will see it was done for a reason. The people who took away your pain and suffering, they made you weaker. The people who took away hardship, they made you weaker. And so, if that's what you want to be, is weaker, and you don't understand the strengthening process, which you're in right now, you'll stay mad and you'll keep circulating the same arguments. But one day I want you to recharacterize that hardship, that pain and suffering, because no one was doing anything to you at that time. Because we've all made choices to keep things inside. We've made choices. We didn't know any better. Now we know. Now we got to deal with it. You will thank the system one day that you figured out how to survive hardship. And that's what I offer you. That's the J world.